Hi guys, 9th of March. Just want to do a quick overview for a bit of exposure for us and to benefit those that have somewhat archaic providers that don't do audios for them. So guys, just quickly, I'm going to start off with Asia Pacific today. The major, I guess, impact to clients today is labour protests in Indonesia are muted for the 11th of March. Basically, there's protests being planned by various unions, the House of Representatives, at the House of Representatives of Ministry of Manpower. The protests are scheduled to start at 10 a.m. These labour disputes are basically in response to some new regulations that passed through Parliament. I won't go into the details of those bills. One of them is the Omnibus Bill, but there's others as well. And behind all this, of course, is a potential firebomb waiting to occur in Indonesia. And that is, of course, certain members of the Indonesian Parliament. And again, we go into the names in our assessments, but not in a public forum like this, are rallying to basically go against the intention of the Constitution, kill off one man, one vote, and re-establish a tidy little group of greedy thieves wearing suits in Jakarta that depowers the people and enriches themselves. Uday, you might like to put a more eloquent spin on that.
Yeah, Paul. Well, it certainly seems, well, from the few members in parliament that you're talking about and some political parties that these political elite want to go back to a pre-1998 era Indonesia where authority was concentrated at the top and everyone took whatever they could from the country. And Paul, I think you're right to call it a powder keg because I do not think the Indonesian public will accept something like this. Now, the Indonesian public, when it comes to presidential elections, they're very invested in it. In the 2019 elections, about 83% of the population voted. Of the votable population participated in the election. So this is a major walk back for democracy, Paul. And I don't know whether these politicians will be able to get what they want, but they certainly are trying hard.
And look, I think Kevin O'Rourke of the Reformasi Weekly summarises it the best, whereby he says there is a bit of a opportunity presented in the Constitution whereby if a quorum is formed from Parliament and 2/3 of that quorum vote in favour of a change to the presidential election process, then it can be affected. And that sounds like a lot. I think a quorum, 600 or 700 people. So you need to get about 400 to vote in favour of a change. And in a country of 260 million, where, as you mentioned, of the registered voters, of course, there's kids and the elderly and the infirm there that may not be included, but it's still 160 odd million voters. And if you're looking at 83% of them turning up, very hard to pay them off. There's a lot of precedences where 400 or 500 politicians in Indonesia, given the right financial advantage, can all coincidentally have a very severe brain fade that always works in their own favour. And let's not mistake the desire for power in Indonesia. It's all about the money. It's all about the cash. It's not about betterment of the country. And Indonesia's gone so far in terms of establishing quite a complex constitution. And, 24 years on, there's still a whole swag of greedy power brokers in Jakarta working out how they can subvert all that for the gains of them and their very much overweight family and colleagues. So hopefully Indonesia won't do a massive U-turn, but the parliament and the political parties there, you can't put it beyond them. I think Kevin O'Rourke mentioned in a recent audio that you'd only have to really get two parties sitting in the middle to go your way and you'd have a chance of achieving that. So our clients really need to keep a close look on Indonesia. Obviously, our assessments are endless. But for those of our clients that don't also subscribe to Reformasi, please contact us because it is by far the best analysis of the country, whereas we're looking at security implications. He delves much greater into the politics, and Kevin's work is world class, and it enables you to extrapolate political events. Will give you a much greater chance of working out where they're going well in advance. Okay, Uday, over to you for many other issues in Myanmar, and particularly in Philippines, Thailand, but I'm just going to leave it at that because we've harped on with Indonesia a little longer than intended. So over to you, Uday, for South Asia.
Sure, Paul. Thanks a lot. So in South Asia today, we assessed one event and covered other 11 developments. So just quickly to run through a couple issues. 27 people were injured in clashes in Jharkhand in India. Now, this is at a site where the National Thermal Power Corporation wants to build a power plant. The key takeaways from this is that there are security issues in rural areas where the state security apparatus cannot maintain security, and the company's infrastructure and equipment and assets were damaged, and they suffered losses to the tune of millions of dollars. So this is one thing that businesses should be aware of, and also how land acquisition projects, especially with the government, are often contested and not without risk. So APAC can help you out in assessing these risks and giving you mitigation for that. I'm just going to quickly touch upon Afghanistan, where border guards of Afghanistan and Iran clashed in Nimroz province on March 7th. Now, the Afghan Taliban has been also clashing with Pakistani forces along the contested Durand line. So this is something to keep an eye out for. And the main issue I want to talk about, and I want Bhargav, if you could give your thoughts on this, there's no confidence motion against Prime Minister Imran Khan's Tehreek-e-Insaf government. And, the opposition parties have been staging anti-government protests across the country in recent weeks. There was one in Islamabad yesterday. So thoughts, Bhargav?
Thank you. Yes, so this is an interesting point in Imran Khan's government, wherein he is facing a bit of a dissidence within his party with the performance review, which came out a couple of months ago, I guess. And within his alliance, there is a bit of grumbling. However, the way things look right now, it is unlikely that he is going to lose his majority in the parliament. Of course, he has a very thin margin there, about 5 or 6 seats. He has over 171 seats. He requires about 176 seats. So businesses need to really observe this, especially those who have direct engagement with the governments, especially with these infrastructure projects. That's where government becomes really pivotal, and engagement with the parties in power becomes very important. And APAC assistance can certainly help with regular updates as well as deeper assessment on how things are evolving within Pakistan, along with a few security issues as well. Recently, we did a travel security advisory for a client. We are certainly happy to help with similar projects within Pakistan. Uday, any thoughts there?
No, I think you've covered it quite succinctly. So in the interest of time, I'll throw it over to Basil, who will tell us about Europe, Middle East, and Africa.